So we just recorded a podcast. We're going round two. Um, there was one thing that there was a thread in that last one that I wanted to pull that I was like, I'll wait for the next. Was this idea that most people don't wake up with like, and I'm falling into this even right now. I think I have woken up with like, this is what I'm doing today. I'm so excited. There's something that pulls me to get out of bed. Um, Talk to me about what it feels like when that's not the case, because I think the beautiful thing about what you do, man, and you've done it for me, is like help people really align with who they want to be, what the kind of work they want to do, not so that they can be like rich and famous and successful, but so they can get that feeling when they wake out of bed like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that's what's beautiful about your work. So as weird of a question as that is, like what's that feeling like for you when you wake up excited and I don't know, what's that like?
Well, you don't hit the snooze button.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So you're just ready to go. You can't wait. When you go to bed at night, you can't wait to wake up in the morning because you're just excited. That vision is pulling you forward. You don't feel like you're pushing yourself. You don't feel like you're just kind of dragging your feet. You got somewhere to be. You got stuff to do, and you're eager. Like you're fulfilled, but you're unsatisfied.
Mm. Mm. And is that like sustainable for people? Is it for you?
That's a good question. I think it if for it to be sustainable, it has to evolve because eventually you're going to reach whatever that thing is that you're going for. And I've learned from people like Grant Cardone to set big goals. It's a controversial topic. Some people say set attainable goals. He says, I've never been more disappointed than when I set a small goal and reached it.
Mm.
So I take that and I like to set big goals.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk talking about being a multiplanetary species.
Yeah.
You need to think big because it forces you to take massive action. How long does it take to write a book? A month, a year, 10 years, a lifetime? Some people never write a book. In my case, I ended up writing my first book in 2 weeks. My second book, I thought, what if I just give myself a day? And I kind of made a game out of it.
Wow.
So I said, I'm going to try and write 100,000 words in a day.
Wow.
And I live streamed the whole thing.
Wow.
And the way I did it was by dictating. So I happen to know that I can speak on average 9,000 words an hour, and they're coherent words. If you transcribe what I'm saying, they would read well. It could be a book, it could be an article. And I had the book in my head.
Mm.
So I ended up making it to 55,000,
That's so many words.
which is still pretty good. Like it's a solid draft. I think it took me 7 or 8 hours. My voice was starting to give out, and I thought, I think I've got almost all of the book that I want. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter than I thought it was. But I say that to say, when I shot for 100,000 words, I was able to do 55,000 in a day.
Mm.
If I shoot for 10,000 words, maybe I hit 8,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You talk about, your book. I want to just say is like you wrote it in 2 weeks. It's easy, and you even mentioned this in the film you guys did about it. Like you would think it's gonna lack quality. Your book is so good, and it's called The Overlap. So anybody listening who, wants to shift from whatever they're doing into something they really enjoy, I can't recommend it enough, man. Like, it was one of those books that I sent people. I sent it to people, and like that's the first reaction I had, and like your podcast is the same way. So
I appreciate that. Just to speak on it for a
for
moment,
sure,
if anyone just feels stuck,
yeah,
not motivated,
that was gonna be my question.
doesn't know what they're passionate about, or the other thing is you have too many passions.
Mm.
You don't know which one to choose, and you're the type of person you're striving for greatness, but you feel stuck. Maybe you're in a day job that you hate, and you just don't know how do I get out of this situation? Some people say like, "Oh, quit your job and do what you love." And it makes a nice quote graphic for Instagram, but you still need the practical stuff. Like, okay, I'll quit my job, I'll do what I love, but how do I actually make money? And what if I don't? And so some people can quit and it works. Like maybe you can jump out of a plane and build a parachute on the way down, and you can tell people the story in a bar, but you don't hear from all the people that went splat,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
so
I
true.
thought, I think I'm going to write a book for people who need something more practical than just take a leap, right? And hope that it all works out.
Yeah.
So on the note of like the quality of the book and making sure it resonated, I started out writing that book. I got 20,000 words in, and I realized I'm just writing a book I wanted to write,
Mm.
not the book people need to read.
Mm.
And so I scrapped that whole draft, and I spent the next 3 years talking to 200 to 300 people in person at meetups and conferences. Like, what is it you want to do, and what's keeping you stuck?
Mm.
And then I went back to the drawing board with all of those conversations in mind and rewrote the book.
Mm.
And I wasn't about like making money from it. I wasn't about trying to make this the most successful book in the world. It's just helping someone who feels stuck, maybe doesn't want to be in the job they're in, make that transition. So I decided I'm going to give away this book for free. I mean, if they wanted to like buy a physical copy, they could, but
Sold out.
I put the whole thing online, right?
Yeah.
And so that's at overlapbook.com. It's just free to read.
It's so good. The practical first step you give people or one of the first steps in the book is like, so what you just said was you help people if they're in a job they hate kind of transition. One of the things that I was surprised to read was that you very much encourage people keep their day job. And I just want to like touch on that because I think I have people that in my audience, even friends that are like, hey man, I'm ready. Like I see you're freelancing. It looks really cool. You're living in LA. Like I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. I'm just going to quit my job. And
Hmm.
I'm almost like, slow down, slow down. Make sure you like hedge a little bit. And I would love to hear in your words, like, why do you recommend people, yeah, like
Yeah,
keep their
I
day
can tell
job?
you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I've seen is if you ever get to the point where, let's say, the way you're making your money from something you're passionate about is you do work for clients,
Mm.
like you're a freelancer or consultant or something like that. Maybe you make films, maybe you design websites, you work for clients. I would say most of us have worked for a bad client. Some call them clients from hell, and it kind of makes life miserable.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is when you get a bad client, it tends to lead to another bad client. And bad clients just lead to more bad clients, while good clients lead to good clients. And eventually, I've seen it happen so many times, you can end up killing your passion. The thing that you once loved, be it film or art or whatever, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth because of those experiences.
Mm.
And the reason you ended up working with the bad client who just pushed you around, didn't pay on time, didn't pay at all, is you were desperate for the money because you have to pay your bills, right? And so that's compromise, right? We know this isn't going to be a good person to work with. We know this isn't a good project. We say yes anyway because of scarcity mindset. It ends up killing the passion, and what I've seen is once the passion is killed, it's dead. Maybe you can find another thing you're passionate about, but I just don't often see that rekindled.
Mm.
And so I desperately wanted to help people avoid killing the passion.
Mm.
And so how can you avoid killing the passion? If we take this client example, how can you work with only good clients? Well, you have to say no to the bad clients. But you have to say no to the bad clients when they're willing to pay you.
Mm.
And what if you don't find the good client? What if you don't find it in time? That's where the scarcity comes in, right? So my solution is instead of just quitting the job, trying to make it work, trying to avoid scarcity and compromise and killing the passion, but also needing money to pay your bills, I just say, hey, let's make a transition instead of a leap. Start with the day job as a foundation. It's just a foundational piece to this puzzle. That's going to cover your bills. It's going to cover 100% of your bills. And my recommendation is that the day job be in a different industry than what you're passionate about. Because if you like design and you go work for an agency and maybe you don't like your boss or the project and you're not controlling the clients you work with or how you work or the processes, you know, and even if you do, let's say you love it, it's using that creative energy so that when you come home, you don't feel like you have much of it left. You're kind of tired. The last thing you want to do when you're, a designer in your day job is come home and design on the side
Mm.
because it used that same energy. Whereas if you wash dishes, it's a little more humbling. But all day you're like, I can't wait to get home and create something. And washing dishes isn't taking away that creative energy. So the way you know, the litmus test is, does your day job deplete you of the kind of energy you need to pursue your passion when you come home? Or does it charge you up for it? Do you come home and you just want to collapse on the couch and watch Netflix and you're just dead? Or do you come home like excited, ready to go? And here's the thing. If you've been in a bad day job, you might not even believe such a thing as a good day job exists, because it's just been sucking your soul away. So I do say don't quit your job, right? But if you hate your job, you need to get another day job. Like if you hate your job, your job doesn't have to be something you love. It's just paying the bills right now while we get this thing going, right? The second half of the book actually talks about how do you get those different streams of revenue? How do you make that transition and eventually leave? But it can't be something you hate. That's the only thing.
Yeah. The cool thing that you touch on so much is you said it right there, was the scarcity mindset, and how I told this to someone, I was on the phone with him, and he's trying to become a photographer, and I'm a videographer, so he was asking for advice, and like I like quoted you directly, because he was like worried about charging the price he knows he wanted, because he didn't want to lose this client, but he has a day job, completely unrelated, and it's like the ideal circumstance, and I'm like, man, you really have the chance to be in this abundance, like own what you want to be mindset. Like you get to create the shoes you want to fill. You don't have to compromise, because if you don't get this client, you might hurt your ego a little bit, but it has nothing to do with you, as you would say. It has to do with their willingness isn't where you want it to be to pay you. And you're in this power position where if he didn't have that day job, he would not have been able to turn that down so confidently or ask for the price, which is the hardest part at the start, is asking for what you're worth.
Yes. And when you encounter bad client after bad client and people negotiating you down on your rate, you start to believe there are no good clients out there.
Or you believe, like, I guess I'm not worth as much as I hoped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
I guess I'm like, he wants to pay me $100. I thought it was worth 1,000.
Right.
I guess I'm worthless. I'll take what I can get.
But when you've got the day job paying the bills, you can have the confidence to say no. And sounds crazy if you've never done it, but you will never feel better about yourself than after you turn down a bad client. It's like they were willing to give me money, but I saw all the red flags. I knew it was going to be miserable, and I said no. It's just like a freeing feeling, and it's like your confidence level goes up like by several points. So on the note of clients, a lot of people think there's good clients, there's bad clients. I would say there's a third level, which is great clients, and great clients by definition are few, because if all clients were great, we'd just call them clients, but they're the exception. I don't know if it's 10% or 5% or 1%, but it's not the majority. And the way you get great clients is by saying no, not only to bad clients, but you have to say no to good clients. If you want to get great clients, you have to say no to everything but great clients. And here's the beautiful thing about great clients. You don't need 100 of them. You could have 3 or 6 in a year, because they pay you well. And they pay you well, and they don't micromanage. You come to them, it's like, hey, do you want this? And it's almost like they're bothered, because they're like, that's your job. You're the pro. I trust you. That's why I hired you. Yeah. And you're like, wow, I didn't know it could be this great. They paid me way more than I thought I'd ever make in a year. Yeah. This project's going to take a couple months. I'm going to have 10 more months to work with other clients, and I love everything about this. They pay on time. They pay on schedule. They refer me. And the thing about great clients is they want to hire you again and again. And the project, because you got to follow your process because they trust you, turns into an awesome case study and a testimonial. It's just like win after win after win. And that's what people are talking about when they talk about this abundance mindset. And it seems a little weird, but it's like when things are good, it tends to keep coming. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It totally makes sense to me. And that's kind of the dialogue I use. It's either scarcity or abundance. And So whether I'm a photographer, videographer, or I make, I sketch or whatever my art or whatever my business or service is, how does one kind of like, as you would say, align with those great clients? How do I look at that and be like, all right, that's great. I want those. Do I just keep doing what I'm doing and hope they come around, or
Mm,
what's that look like? Because I know
yeah.
by definition you said there are few of them. So what nudges me in the right direction
Yeah.
towards those few?
Great question. So it starts with mindset
Yeah.
and then also your circumstances. So that's the overlap thing.
Yeah.
It's having
Keep it
something
coming,
that
yeah.
pays the bills
Mm.
so that you're not constantly tempted because you take it's like the sabbatical stuff in the calendar. You fill up your time with bad clients or even good clients, and there's no room or opportunity for great clients. So you've got to be in that position to say no because you're able to pay your bills, you're not desperate. But then it's the mindset part. You have to know that you're worth it, and you have to believe. It starts with a belief that great clients even exist. The ones I'm describing. I'll tell you a story. Like I hired a photographer just to take like a portrait photo, and he did a little shoot, around my office,
Mm.
and what he charged me, I was like, that's it? I don't remember if it was $100 or $200 or something, but like the value I got out of it was far greater. So I paid him double just as like hey man, you're worth it.
Yeah.
Like you're creating value for me. You probably don't even realize it.
Yeah.
My book editor, he quoted me something. I'm thinking about my book in terms of like decades, right? I'm writing it in a way to be evergreen, and so this is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
He quotes me. I actually stalked him for like 6 months, and he's super great. So I'm like, this is the guy I want. I'm gonna get him. I wrote him a proposal like, I want him to be my editor. Like, please choose me.
Mm.
And so we end up working together. He sends me a quote. I'm like, man, and it had a comma in it, but I was still like, he's worth so much more.
Mm.
And so I ended up paying him 40% more than he quoted me.
Wow.
And I said, I don't want you to just edit this book. I want you to help me take this book from good to great. Whatever that takes, apply your experience. Tell me to change things, whatever. And here, I'm going to pay you to do it,
Mm.
right? When is the last time you sent a proposal to a client, you gave them a quote, and they paid you more?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
But whether you believe me or not, I'm telling you some stories
Totally. That are real.
that involve these types of clients.
Yeah.
They exist. Are they rare? Of course they're rare. But you have to first believe they exist. So I'm trying to help you do that with these stories.
Mm.
But then you have to set yourself up to be available to work with them, which means not saying yes to the bad or even good clients. And then third, you need to go where great clients are. What does that mean? Well, you could take it in like a digital or a physical sense. But I would say the fastest way is physically go where they are.
Hmm.
Because as soon as you get one great client, you're in. Because great clients lead to more great clients. Everyone at that level is networked. It's all relationships. You can go to the head of the class. You can skip and circumvent the whole process. Everything you think about how stuff has to work or does work or convention, throw it all out the window. You got to have testimonials. You got to have case studies. You got to go through this process.
It's not
No,
true.
when that great client refers you to his best friend, that's also a great client, they're both multimillionaires, it's a done deal because of that reputation, that relationship. And it just cascades.
I've found that to be true. I've excelled or progressed faster doing content creation through relationships than anything else. And it got to a point where I couldn't even have time to make my portfolio look pretty. It was just like, here, oh, he can help, he can help, he can help. And like you said, when someone refers to you, they don't second guess the person that they're saying, oh, this guy referred you. Like, I trust him with anything. If you're working for him, you can work with me. And it's a beautiful process. And I like that idea that, cause so many people get stuck on the details, myself can be included, overthinking, like, am I ready? Am I ready? But sometimes you can cut the line. But
And
with me, go ahead.
I was just going to add as
Yeah.
like a very tactical, practical thing you can do. I'm saying, yeah, you get that first great client, then they can refer you. But how do you actually get them? Okay, you go to a conference they're going to be at and you run into them. Like, does that mean you get them? What do you say? I would say the best way to get a great client is to do something for them. Not ask, can I do something for you for free? Do it. And when I say do something for them, I mean something that is valuable for them. Not something that you think is valuable, but something that you know they value. And you know they value because you did your research and you did your homework. And so you're looking at their tweets and their blog posts. What is it they're talking about right now? What is it they care about? What is it they're saying on their podcast and in their videos? Even the little passing mention of like, oh, hey, we should probably do that on the website, or wouldn't it be cool if we made this video? Like the little things like that, make that video. Go find all their footage and, chop it up and like do the animations and the transitions about their message and add the music and like send that to them. Hey, I heard you say this. I wanted to make this for you. It's ready to go. Royalty-free music. I just want you to use this. You don't have to credit me, nothing. Here you go. Don't ask for permission. Don't say, can I make this video for you? I saw you wanted it. I'd be happy to do it for free. That's making them do work.
It's making them respond.
Yeah. Just do it for them.
Yeah.
Just provide that, I call it no strings attached value. We're not talking about giving with expectation. We're talking about just giving, pure giving. Here's some value. Here's some value. And value is subjective. It's valuable to them. You take any item in someone's house, one man's junk is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
Value is subjective. Not what's valuable to you. What is valuable to them, and you know because you did your research. If they don't respond on the first time, do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Imagine someone came to you and they just kept writing blog post after blog post about the topic you're like super wanting to get the message out about. Here you go. It's well researched. It cross links to all of your other stuff. Feel free to post this. Here's a video I made for you. Here's a graphic for your next newsletter. If someone did this every week, they showed up with something, how could you ignore that? Every single person I've hired is from my community. It's people that showed initiative. Hey, the chat system you made, I made this style sheet for you. It's going to make it better for the other users. I'm like, what kind of person shows that initiative? You're hired.
It's so true. And it's almost borrowing. I've found when I've done something for free for someone I've wanted to work with, like a great client, even if it hasn't resulted in direct business, it's now given me this portfolio piece of I work with this tier of people.
Portfolio piece?
It's like a borrowed credibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Portfolio piece, or even if they don't hire you, they might recommend you because you made such a good impression, which I've done before. People have given me stuff and I may have not used it or I may have not hired them, but they're on my radar now and I recommend them.
Because so much of it isn't like I'm trying to tell myself, it's not like when they don't work with me, it has no reflection to do with me often. It's like, do they need what I'm offering at that time? It's a lot of synchronicity. It's a lot of good timing. So just like putting yourself out there, providing free value has allowed me to, try to stay on top of mind with people when they need it.
And if you're thinking like, who does this? This is really unconventional, like this kind of strategic free work, no strings attached value. Well, we're talking about getting that 1% of great clients.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do unconventional things to get unconventional clients, like the kind that pay you more than you quote them.
Your theory on like don't quit your day job. So I had my initial goal was like I can't wait to just be paid to make videos because I love making videos, and so I worked as a busser. I was a server. I was a bartender. This was years ago. And I would get all the crappy clients, and eventually I would burn out, like you said, and I would just go straight to like the service industry and try to figure out my life, and then I'd always come back to like this goal. I want to have freedom was kind of the driving force. I want to work for myself. I want to have clients that I really enjoy working with. And over the years, I've built it up to the point where I am self-employed. I am a freelance like content creator. I live in LA, which is was a big mountain to climb for me. And now that I'm here, it's a funny thing because I read your book. I reread it in preparing for this talk, and I'm like, man, like my day job is now like video content creation, and and my new goal is so different than that. It's blended though. So I'm getting a little selfish with this podcast.
I love it.
But it's like, yeah, my worlds have become messy because for so long this is all I wanted, and now that I'm here, I can see like the next horizon, and I'm like, well, there's more out there, and so it's a weird feeling to be kind of building two babies at the same time. Like, as you say perfectly, like if you're not growing your business is kind of diminishing, or I love that. Like if you're not growing, you're dying. So with my clients' business, if I'm not giving it enough attention and trying to get new clients and putting effort into it, I may not, have the money to pay the bills. And I'm in a slow period right now. Like, came off of 2 very hot months, like great income, but then felt a little burned out. So I had to slow down, had to kind of reevaluate where I'm at. And now it's slower, and I'm having all this freedom to enjoy my podcast and writing more and connecting with my audience online and doing the things that really make my soul very happy.
Yeah.
But then I still have my day job, and my day job and my soul's passion, they definitely blend together because they're both in the creative, expressive field. So what would you say to someone who had a day job or had that goal, and the goal, what would you say?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to form that into a question.
I know what you're saying though. I ended up putting this kind of my story
Yeah.
in the overlap book that I wrote at the very end of writing the book as the first chapter, which is like, here's my journey. And I ended the first chapter by saying, you're always overlapping. Do we need to?
No, you're good.
Okay.
3 more minutes.
So you're always overlapping from one thing to the next. You're going from the thing that it pays the bills right now. Maybe it was what you really were into a couple of years ago, but it's kind of taking you to the next thing, and you've found a new outlet, a new passion, a new thing you want to go to. And that's been the case for me. Just from one thing to the next, it leads me to the next. I'm always overlapping. There's the thing I've got going on right now, and then there's that next thing. So, I mean, I just wanted to say, like, that's a very normal feeling.
And then how is that, like, coming back to the not being in scarcity, so that I'm hedging for sure, I would call it, and like really working on the things that are strictly for me and getting my stuff out. But that's not yet grown into the tree yet. It's still a seed. It's sprouting. It's kind of a twig, so I don't want to lean on it.
Right.
As Sean would say. I don't want to lean on it too early, or else it'll snap. And it might put too much pressure on me. It might stress me out because I need this thing to work so bad. So I'm still doing the freelance work, and I really do enjoy it a lot of the time. And like, it feeds into my other work because I get to meet really cool people. I get to learn from their business. I get to develop my ability to tell stories. I get to learn. But my attempt to grow into a bigger shell and to charge higher prices, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. When I'm in this lull, how would you kind of advise to like be careful for that scarcity mindset? Because like I can feel it. If the situation I'm in now, luckily I have some built up, but like if this lingered for like another few months, I'd have to like step into scarcity mindset. So would you say to someone like me, like when you have a new idea of where do you want to go like start over, or like get a new day job? Like when someone finds that second overlap, like there's always that second thing. When is it the right time to really like roll over into it?
Great question. Thanks. So you're ready to go to that second overlap when, and to recap, the overlap is when you've got the main thing that pays 100% of your bills. Whatever your expenses are in a month, it's covering it completely. Not 50%, not 60%, not 80%, but completely. If you have that, and that's the current thing you do, and you want to do something else, then you can start to make that transition to the new thing. If you don't have that, meaning the main thing now has, let's say, dipped to not covering 100% of the bills, then you'd want to take that step back to take a step forward, by which I mean getting the day job, whatever it is, the washing the dishes, whatever that is for you, getting the day job that covers 100% of your bills. That's your foundation that prevents scarcity mindset, that allows you to be selective in how you pursue this next thing.
That makes sense. The way you talk about like scarcity mindset and aligning it really, like, where did you learn to use this kind of vocabulary? Because like I talked about in our last podcast, the only place I've heard this kind of vocabulary, and I'm kind of a spiritual person, is like spiritual communities, and it's like it's
Mm.
very cool. It's like, yeah, because I don't want to say I have like I have you pegged, but like I wouldn't expect you to use this kind of vocabulary of like scarcity and abundance, and because when you are in that mentality, you definitely attract that kind of things to you. And when you're scarcity and you like expect, it's almost like what you expect you get. Like, how did that kind of develop for you?
I don't actually know where I picked up the terms
Yeah.
because I've used them for so long.
Okay, here's an example. It's like your mindset needs to be different than your circumstances. That's like
Right.
typical. That's like energetic. I mean, I'm here in Venice, so I'm becoming more familiar with this kind of like
Yeah.
vocabulary, and that's like one of the main things I would say is like you have to be able to envision and visualize and taste and touch the life you want before it's even here, or else you'll never get there.
Which sounds so ethereal,
Yeah, it does.
or
But you use it as like this is no, like you have to.
it is like scarcity mindset. And let's just say what that is, right? Scarcity is like scarce resources. You're in the desert for 3 days, you haven't had water. Water is a scarce resource. What would you do for water at that point? Well, probably a lot of things that you wouldn't normally do. You might compromise on certain things like your dignity or your morals at that point when you're desperate, when you're in circumstantial scarcity. Similarly, when you have scarce resources like money, you can get desperate. You might end up doing things that you wouldn't normally do and aren't really good for you in the long run just to make ends meet right now. That that's circumstantial scarcity. To get out of scarcity mindset, you have to think in terms of abundance, which is very difficult because it's like I should be happy when everything around me is good, and I should be sad when everything around me is bad. But you have to have an abundance mindset while in circumstantial scarcity because scarcity mindset only begets more of the same.
Mm.
So you have to how in the world do you adopt an abundance mindset while in circumstantial scarcity? You may have noticed while listening to this episode that this type of talk, this type of energy and conversation is not familiar to you, and it's why you gravitate towards it. Like this feels like like a good meal, like this is the kind of conversation and topic that I don't get in my life. My friends don't talk like this. My family doesn't they don't go to these subjects. We just kind of avoid that. We talk about the game on TV or whatever, right? Like, but there's something about this that like is meaningful that you want. You've got to put yourself in a place where you actually feel like the odd one out. So if you were here together with us sitting in this room, you might feel like the odd one out. Like I couldn't even contribute to this conversation. This isn't how I think, this isn't how I talk. That's good. You want to get in a circle of people that are like that, where you're actually the odd one out. Because right now, if you feel comfortable, being with your friends and your family, your current circle of influence, and a lot of times when you're in circumstantial scarcity, the people in your life have scarcity mindset. So they're actually holding you down. And the way I think about it is scarcity and negativity, it has gravity on its side. It's like trying to pull someone out of a hole. It's easier for them to pull you down into the hole because they've got gravity on their side.
Wow.
You've got to get around people who are already thinking this way and start to change your mindset, which can include books. It can include podcasts, people you follow on Instagram, people you subscribe to on YouTube, but certainly people in real life. So it's two-part. Cut out the negative. There's people you follow that you shouldn't be following. Just unfollow. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. But maybe it's also people and maybe it's friends. Cut out the negativity and then get around positive people.
How would you recommend someone, if they have someone that's close in their life that has a little bit of that like pulling me down the hole energy?
I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah. How would you recommend kind of like remaining like mindful of the fact that like this is an important person in my life? I want to be kind
Family,
to them. I understand them. Yeah. So many people.
This is my take on it, and it's controversial. But going off of this theory that negativity has gravity on its side. It's easier for them to pull you down than for you to pull them up.
Yeah.
If you really care about them, right now, their mindset is such that they're not going to respond to you trying to talk them out of thinking a certain way. This is my approach. You can take it or leave it. I would cut ties for now so that you can spend your time getting in the right mindset around positive people who are thinking in terms of abundance, such that you can pull yourself out of circumstantial scarcity. Right? So like then you're in circumstantial abundance. You're going to be in a better position to be able to help someone.
Mm.
It's much more likely that they keep you. I talk about it in the Overlap book, crab mentality. Crabs in a bucket. Any one of them could escape by grabbing the edge and pulling themselves out. The reason they don't is because the other crabs pull him back down when he tries to escape.
Wow. Yeah. It's what was I about to say? I missed it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We were talking about the abundance. So it's like for me, I keep thinking about like this spiritual perspective of it, because like the abundance mindset, but like you show up, you have that the mindset that precedes the circumstance. So you do that over and over and over and over, and but your circumstances haven't changed. For you, you're one of those people I admire in your ability to just have incredible output through writing and podcasting and all your courses, and you show up, man. Like you show up over and over and over, and it's obvious that you have that mindset that like things before they have shown themselves to me physically are already almost here. I already am in that energy. I'm kind of enjoying it already before it's here. What would you say to someone who has trouble, that first week of being excited about all the good things that are coming and being like acting as if it was already here is easy, when that momentum isn't as fast as people maybe had hoped?
It starts to wear off. You get home from the conference, the energy goes
The
away.
novelty, yeah.
Yeah.
It goes. You have like that curve of like that first 2 weeks is fast, but then it kind of slows down.
You gotta stay plugged in. Cut out the negative. Okay, you did that. You stopped following the people. You stopped watching the shows. You stopped going to those places, and you add the positive. It's content online and it's people in person. You've got to stay plugged in constantly, 24/7. All the time, I'm listening to stuff like the thing that I'm talking about right now, all the time.
Define plugged in.
Okay, so content-wise, if you're going to use social media or YouTube or blogs or newsletters or whatever, follow only people that are adding value to your life, speaking positively, speaking in terms of abundance. Listen to audiobooks, read physical books. You've got to reinforce that. And then in person, find your people. Find the people who are living the life you want to live, who have that attitude. You probably know those people. Like when they come in, like they just have this gravitas, like this energy. There's a sparkle in their eye. It's just different. Get around those people. Be the weird one. Go where you're the weird one, where you're the odd one out, until eventually you're not. Your mindset changes, and then your circumstances follow.
What was it is that kind of what helped you, just showing up and showing up? Like, was there ever a point when you would question, like, what am I showing up for? Is this the right way to show up? Like, I'm thinking, like, you've done so many podcasts, you've written so much. Like, is that what you would just do? Is kind of like just keep seeking those people that would almost make you think differently? It's almost like you would get so uncomfortable around these different circles, and they would try to level you up. Or
yeah, and it's honestly for me mostly online. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I do make an effort to go to those conferences and meetups, a handful a year, but mostly I'm home. But when I'm home, 24/7, I'm piping that stuff into my ears. Podcasts, YouTube Premium and running in the background with the screen off, like I'm just constantly audiobooks. I'm piping those messages into my ears. I'm filling in all the gaps.
In your book, is there anything that like you've recognized after the fact people gravitate to one of the specific aspects of your book? Like when people see you, like, are they like, Sean, like, this is the part? Like, if so, anything stand out?
There's a lot because I set out
It's
to
so
write 3
much.
books
Yeah,
and
it's
I
so much in there.
condensed it into one.
That's the tricky part about this podcast is like I have so many things I want to talk to you about. So normally I would like kind of just like bounce, but I feel like I'm like I need to try to put you in this box, man. That's really hard. But
Yeah.
is there? That's why I ask. Like low
Scarcity mindset's a big one.
Yeah.
And then just the overlapping thing. Another one would be curating. So like, what do you want to be known for?
Mm.
And there's curation is like, think of a magazine. It's about certain topics. They select certain articles,
Yeah.
around a theme, and you would subscribe because you want more of the same, or you follow someone on Instagram because you like what they post and you want more of that type of thing. What is that for you? What is your expectation that you're setting for people? What is it that you're known for? What can people expect to get from you if they were to follow, subscribe, right? And it's difficult to kind of narrow down and choose that
So hard.
that vein, but people are forced to simplify because we're cognitively limited. There's Dunbar's number of 150 close relationships, and people want to know what you're about. Like you're the film guy, right? And they want to put you in a bucket. They want to put you in a box, right? You can't change the fact that people are going to put you in a box. You can only define what box they put you in.
Mm.
And the difficult part is if you try and be everything, you don't go in all the boxes, you go in the junk drawer because they don't know where to put you.
The hard part is choosing the box because for me, I fall in the category of like you can't put me in a box, man. Like
Yeah.
it's so hard. And I was in a box for a while, and then I ended up being like I don't like that box, and I've pivoted the box, and now it's like, well, I'm scared to just choose one box. So what would you say to that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people starting out, especially like, I don't know how to kind of encapsulate my thing,
mhm.
When you look at people and you compare yourself to people who are so like that thing, it's hard to know where to start with that.
Well, you are much more than what you do and the one thing you choose for now,
Yeah.
which is a good point. Like it's a seasonal thing. The thing you choose doesn't have to be the thing you do forever. I've changed and changed and changed and changed, but by focusing on one thing at a time in a given season, I simplify myself enough to be memorable.
Mm.
So people come in, I was talking to you a little bit about it before we started recording, this idea of what, why, and what's plural. So it's kind of a chain. It starts with the initial what. You do watercolor painting of animals, right? It's this very specific thing. And it feels like, oh, I'm so limited. I'm also I'm into food and I like writing fiction and I'm an interesting person and we all are. But the types of things you like to follow have some kind of expectation, right?
Yeah,
And then
so true.
eventually you get to know the person. So you go from the initial what to the deeper why. What is it this person's about? Why is it they do the things the way they do? What are their principles? What is their goal, their mission, their theme? Who are they? You start to get a little bit of their characteristics and personality. And that leads you to their other what's, the other things that they do, which maybe right now they do them, or maybe it's in the future. Like 2 years from now, they're done with the watercolor painting of animals, and now they want to do oil painting of landscapes, or maybe they want to do something completely different that's not art. But you might actually follow them to that next thing because now you feel attached to them, you feel connected to them, and you care because they did this thing and you like them. So you can't choose a wrong initial thing. It's just going to lead to the next thing and it's going to simplify you.
Yeah, it's going to kind of snowball into the next thing and then the overlap continues.
Yeah, I meet people at conferences and they haven't figured out what they want to be known for. And so they spout out 3 to 5 different things. And I really try to be engaged and pay attention, but a few minutes later, I forget. And I don't just forget what they do, I forget about the person. And it hurts to say that because I care about them, but like I'm forced to simplify. I've got a lot going on in my life. So if they choose that one thing, there's a chance that I might grab on for the ride.
Yeah. And there's that, we go back to that thing with the making it easy for people to refer you. I think that's
Oh,
what just
yeah.
came to mind. Like if you say, "Oh, I do 5 things," people will be like, "All right, well, if I'm gonna refer you for something, I want you to like that's your thing."
We refer specialists.
Yeah, yeah. So it's choosing almost to specialize and just trusting that I guess that will lead into what it needs to lead into, is what I'm taking away from that personally.
Yeah, you're not stuck with one thing forever.
Yeah, which I so tend to think whatever season I'm in now is gonna last way too long, or that I'm stuck. Is there anything that surprised you in working with these people and helping them transition from, doing what they may not like to doing what they like? What has stood out as like a surprise through this process?
Just how simple the things are that keep people stuck.
Hmm.
Like at the San Diego meetup that I just did, travel, doing all this travel and stuff. We're doing meetups in different cities. There's a guy who wanted to make YouTube videos. He wanted to get started on YouTube, but he needed to build his website, and he wasn't sure which website platform to use. And also with his videos, he's trying to get the lighting right, and he thinks he knows what he wants the videos to be about. But he was like, "Do I make videos first, or do I build my website first?" And it was so confounding to him. He was just stuck overthinking not doing anything
Yeah,
for a long time.
yeah,
And I told him, it doesn't matter. You can do either one. Start making videos, start working on your website, start making videos about how you don't know which one to start on. Just begin. And it just unlocked everything for him. Like,
Mm.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so worried about, what is the next perfect step? Like we could do so many different things. It's like spinning around in your office chair, 360 degrees of options. I could go any way, any direction, but what if I pick the wrong direction? So we just stay right there because we're paralyzed. We don't want to go the wrong direction. There's no right direction. You can't steer a parked car.
Mm.
You've got to take that next imperfect step, and then you've got this momentum. You can course correct.
Mm.
It's indecision that's the enemy.
Mm. When have you faced that, if at all?
Indecision?
Yeah.
I overcomplicate everything. Like in business, like I like complexity, which is not a good thing a lot of times, because successful businesses are simple at their core. Like their business model is simple, and I get caught up with indecision on, like, in what way should I make this complex, and like adding automation and
Mm.
like these just throwing software at stuff without just like looking at what is our business model, what are we trying to do here, what's our goal, who is this for. So I tend to get in the weeds.
Yeah. That makes me feel better, because it's easy to look at you and think that there isn't that because you have such an output. But I like that the simplifying of what am I trying to do here? How can I do that? Just start with that. Ask yourself a simple question. How can I make that simple? What would this look like if it was easy? A question I like to ask myself, or what would it look like if it was simple? And just go.
And content for me, it has to be perfect. What is it going to look like on my Instagram grid?
Yeah.
And
That's so much.
the hex color, and like
Yeah.
silly stuff. And I've gotten better at curbing that perfectionism. Just like, I'm going to mess up the Instagram grid on purpose, just because I'm overthinking everything.
Break the seal of perfection. Yeah.
Should I record this selfie video with the front facing camera, or turn it around and somehow try and make sure I'm in frame? Like, I overthink all of that stuff.
Wow. Yeah. We all do. I want to slowly wrap this up. I could go on for so long. So it's tough. This is one of the hardest ones I've ever done. Sean. I'm telling you, man. I love your work. People, if you're listening, you've been a huge reason why I have been able to charge more in my freelance business, why I've had the confidence to step into this abundance mindset. Not only because I've heard it from a spiritual perspective, but to hear it from someone who's in the weeds, like doing the thing, holds a little different weight. It's like, oh, this is actual practical advice. You've been a huge part in me adopting my writing habit that has already started to yield amazing benefits. So thank you for making the time, and thanks for doing the work you do, man.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I wanted to appreciate you on air.
Thank you.
One other question I'd like to ask is, assuming you would change nothing and everything happened for a reason, is there any piece of advice or encouragement that you would give yourself at age 25?
Man.
Why?
You've got a lot of time. You don't have to work so hard. It's really easy to work hard and more quickly take yourself in a direction you don't want to go. Prioritize your health and your relationships. People matter. I learned from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Be efficient with things. Be effective with people. I was definitely often trying to be efficient with people, like just trying to get through, like, okay, come on, this is what we're trying to do, and not like being empathetic, not trying to understand. So efficient with things, effective with people.
That's amazing, man. Anything I left out?
I mean, there's always things. There's always
anything
things.
that you want to
No,
make sure that's in.
no, this was good. This was
Alright.
good. Hopefully, yeah.
And where can people find you, of course?
Well, you can find me on social media at Sean Wes. My business website is seanwes.com, SEANWES.com. But right now, I'm documenting a sabbatical year. So if you want to follow that journey, what does it look like for a workaholic to travel for a year? Sabbatical.blog.
Cool. And check out the Overlap book, everybody. Thanks again, Sean.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Cool. Wrap.